Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to discuss about uh, air and sea interaction. This is a new chapter, and in this chapter we are going to study about Earth's seasonality, how seasonality changes, and what are the factors. All of us know what are the factors on which season is dependent, but yes, we will discuss it again. So that is Earth's season, how it's going to change, and what are the factors. Then distribution of solar energy, the solar insolation, how it is uh, affected, how it affects the different regions of earth, whether it is same for all latitudes or it is different, how it is distributed among all the latitudes, among the different latitudes. Okay, distribution of solar energy. Then Coriolis effect. This is Coriolis effect is most important because it will be it will be used in every part of oceanography and climatology. Wherever there will be a conceptual thing, we will use this term Coriolis effect. So Coriolis effect, I will make a separate video for it. So then the next one is different pressure belts, wind belts, and different atmospheric pressure belts. Okay, so in this particular video we'll discuss about earth season, the small topic, and distribution of solar energy among different latitudes. Okay, so moving to the next slide here. So the earth is rotating around the sun, and there is a law called Kepler's law of planetary motion, right? Kepler's laws of planetary motion. So what is the first law of Kepler's? What is the Kepler's first law? Planetary motion, right? So what is the first law? The first law is saying that the Earth is orbiting around the Sun. The Earth is orbiting around the Sun in an elliptical path. The path is elliptical. It's not circular. Path is elliptical. Okay. So all of us know what is an ellipse. Ellipse is this one. So here this is a semi-minor axis, and here this is here minor and major axis. This is minor and this is major, and this ellipse is having two focus. It is having two foci, right? Single is focus and plural term is foci. So here these are the foci. So the sun is at one of its focus. Let's say here it is the sun, and earth is rotating. Earth is here, it is rotating around the sun. So the first law says that earth is rotating in an elliptical orbit by keeping sun at one of its foci. That means out of the two focus, sun is at one focus and earth is rotating around it. And because of this, because of this if sun is at the center, if you can see, this diagram is looking like sun is at the center. If sun is at the center, earth must, if it is circle, if it is a circle and the sun is at the center, then if earth is rotating, you will get equal radiation all over. In all positions you will get equal radiations, right? In all positions you will get equal radiation if the ellipse if the orbit is circular, if the orbit is circular and sun is at the center. But that is not a case. That is not true. Earth's orbit is not circular, it is elliptical, and sun is not at the center, it is at one of its focus. Okay. So because of this, there is a difference in radiation in the position of Earth. Because of this effect, because of this law, or because of this thing, because sun is situated at one of its focus of the elliptical path of Earth, the incident energy or the solar energy or the solar insolation is not same at every position. If you are talking about Earth here or Earth here or Earth here or here, it's different because sun is here. If Earth is rotating here, it is nearer to sun, here it is farther than sun, right? So there is difference in distance from sun to Earth. So the solar insolation also decreases. The amount of radiation falling on Earth is also decreasing, right? So there are two positions. There are two positions, as I have told, it is an elliptical path and sun is here. So Earth will be nearer ones and Earth will be farther ones, right? Once the Earth will be nearer to, like in one revolution, all of us know this, because Earth is having rotation and revolution. Rotation is around its axis, rotation around its axis, and revolution around sun, right? So rotation along its axis causes day and night. It causes day and night, right? The day and night temperature fluctuation, that is more temperature in the day and less temperature in the night. Solar insolation is high in the day and solar insolation is nil at night. That means there is no incoming. There are outgoing radiation during night, there are incoming radiation during daytime. Okay. So this is because of rotation around along its axis or rotation around its axis, Earth's axis. Okay, and revolution is causing the seasonality. Revolution is causing the seasonality. Revolution is causing the seasonality. When Earth is nearer to sun, it receives more radiation. When it is farther than sun, it receives less radiation or less energy. Okay. Not only revolution, there are other factors which are affecting seasonality. There are other factors which are affecting seasonality. Those factors are, so one thing I told, because of this near and far position, Earth is having different insolation in 1 year. This one revolution is 1 year. So in 1 year, Earth is at minimum distance to sun at one point and Earth is at further distance to sun at one point. Okay. So again, now coming to the seasonality, what are the factors which affects Earth season? What are the factors that controls Earth season? The first point, as I have told, is revolution around sun. Revolution around sun, it is the main factor. And what are the other factor? Earth's axial tilt. Axial tilt is also another factor. How much degree? That is 23.5. okay. I hope in the previous video I have told it by mistake 21.5. That's my mistake, I am sorry. That is not 21.5, that is 23.5, right? The axial tilt of Earth is 23.5. Then the next factor which is affecting your Earth season, or because of which Earth season is there coming into picture, Earth seasonality is coming into picture. Next factor is spherical shape of Earth. Spherical shape of Earth. Earth is spherical in shape, not exactly spherical, but yes, uh, it is the polar radius is lesser as compared to the equatorial radius. It is oblate spheroid. The more general term is called oblate spheroid because the polar radius, it is like this, the polar radius is less as compared to the equatorial radius. Equatorial radius is more, right? So the spherical shape of Earth or spheroidal shape of Earth, axial tilt of Earth, then revolution around the Sun. These three factors are much more important for, these are the key factor for Earth's seasonality, for season change. Okay, so as I have told, when Earth is somewhat nearer, there are two positions. What I have told, there are two positions when Earth is nearer once in a year and farther once in a year, right? Earth is nearer and farther once in a year, nearer once and farther once. So the position when Earth is nearer to Sun is called perihelion, is called perihelion. It is called perihelion. So helion means your Sun, it is representing Sun, and perihelion and aphelion, right? When this distance is called aphelion. Okay, perihelion and aphelion. So perihelion means when Sun is nearest to Earth or Earth is nearest to Sun is perihelion, and the Earth is farthest to Sun is aphelion. Okay. Similarly, if we are talking about Moon and Earth, similarly if we are talking about Moon and Earth, Moon is rotating around Earth. Moon is rotating around Earth, right? Like, so Earth is rotating around Sun, Moon is rotating around Earth. So the similar term for Moon and Earth will be termed like, suppose Earth is here and Moon is rotating around it. So once it will be nearer and once it will be farther, right? Once it will be nearest and once it will be farthest. So the nearest, the position when the Earth is nearest, the position when Earth is nearest to Moon, or the position when Moon is nearest to Earth, because here when we are talking about Earth Moon system, we are taking Earth is constant and Moon is revolving. So when Moon is nearest to the Earth, it is called perigee. It is called perigee. When it is farthest to Earth, it is called apogee. Okay. So here G is representing Earth. Here helion is representing Sun. Okay. So if we will talk about uh, the timing, or the timing in a year when the Earth is, or the date when the Earth is nearest to Sun or farthest to Sun. Okay, so the perihelion is January 2 to 4, January 2 to 4, that means it varies. Okay, it's not constant, that means every year at January 2 it will be nearest, it's not like that. It varies, January 2 to January 4. Then the aphelion is July 4 to 6. It is July 4 to 6. Okay, the farthest distance will be at July 4 to 6. You must remember this thing because they can ask. These are data based questions, but it can be asked in 2 mark section. Okay, the perihelion is January 2 to 4 and aphelion is July 4 to 6. Okay, when earth is farthest distance from sun. Okay, so these are the two positions as I have told, one is nearest and one is farthest. So when earth is nearest to sun, it receives 8% more radiation than normal. When earth is nearest to sun, it receives 8% more radiation. When earth is nearest to sun, it receives 8% more radiation, whereas when earth is farthest to sun, when earth is at farthest distance from sun, it receives less than 8% radiation. Okay, so or in other way you can say the earth is closest, when the earth is closest to sun, it gets approximately 8% more radiation than when it is farther. Okay, when the earth is nearer to sun, it receives 8% more radiation as compared to when it is farthest or when it is at further distance. Or you can say when earth is here in this part, in this region, this is the nearer distance and this is the further distance. This is not, I am not talking about only perihelion and aphelion, I am not talking about only those days. I am not talking the difference between January 2 and July 4. I am talking about the period, right, when earth is nearer. That means December, January, at that time earth is nearer, right? December, January, earth is nearer, and June, July, earth is at further distance. So in those days, in those difference, that means in June, July, the earth is getting 8% less radiation as compared to January and December, January, right? Now you might be thinking I am mad because in December and January we are having winter. In December, January we are having winter. Now you may ask how we are getting lesser radiation in how we are getting more radiation in winter. I have told in January earth is nearest, so in December, January it will be nearer. So at that time we are in northern hemisphere, we are having winter season, right? In the northern hemisphere we are having winter season, whereas in June, July month we are having summer season, and during July earth is at farthest distance, I have told, and I told there is a difference of 8% in solar insolation or solar radiation or solar incoming radiation. Okay, and in December it is more, whereas in June, July it is less. How it is possible? So for that, let's include the axial tilt and let's study this diagram. Let me clear everything. Okay, now let's see this diagram. Before going, let's talk about the axial tilt. Okay, if earth is like this, if earth is like this and axial tilt is not there, it is like this. Okay, so this is 90-degree latitude, this is 60-degree, then 30-degree and 0-degree, then 30, 60, 90. Okay, so it is 0. So here it is sun, here also getting radiation, here also getting radiation, like this, right? So if it is like this, if the earth is always if earth's axis is vertical, what will be the condition, or what would be the condition if earth's axis is vertical? It's not, there is no tilt. If there is no tilt, what would be the condition? the direct rays will always fall on the equator. The direct rays will always fall on the equator and will get same radiation. That means we'll get the angle will be same. The angle will be same at, that means the angle of solar insolation, the angle of solar incidence or solar incidence angle of solar rays. Okay, that will be same like throughout the year. Here in tropics we'll get, suppose we are getting some 30° or 23° solar radiation, it is 0. In the equator it is 0, then let's say it is 23.5, okay, or 30°. So in northern tropics we'll always get solar incidence at 30°. We'll always get the angle of incident rays of sun at 30°. But as Earth's axial tilt is there, Earth's axis is not vertical, it is tilted. So if you see, there are, this is the equatorial region, this is the equatorial region. Now you can see these two positions, this position and this position. Here sun's direct rays are falling on equator. Sun's direct rays are falling on equator. Here also and at this position also direct rays are falling on the equator. In this position, which is the December month or December January, okay, so in this position if you see, the sun's direct rays are on southern tropics. These are on southern tropics. This is Tropic of Capricorn, that is the southern tropics. Whereas in this position, when it is June, July, the sun's direct rays are falling on the Tropic of Cancer or the northern tropics or the northern tropics, right? That means if it is come to this picture here, if Earth's axis is vertical, anytime the solar incidence is at 90° to the 90° or it is directly overhead to the equator, it is directly at the equator, okay, and if it is tilted, Earth's axis is tilted like this, okay. Now if we will see, this is this is southern tropics or Capricorn, this is 0°, and this is northern tropics. Now if we will see, sun is here and the direct rays are falling on the southern tropics, direct rays are falling on the southern tropics. If Earth is here, now axial tilt is like this is northern tropics, equator and southern tropics. So now Earth's direct rays are falling on the northern tropics. Now the direct rays are falling on northern tropics. So when we are getting the direct rays, that is summer for us. This is summer for northern hemisphere. This is summer for southern hemisphere. Okay. So when southern hemisphere is facing summer, we are facing winter. We are facing winter. This is northern winter. Now here it is southern winter, because the southern area they are getting inclined radiation. They are getting inclined radiation or inclined solar rays. Here the northern tropics, they are getting inclined rays. They are getting slant rays. Okay. These positions, because of this axial tilt, this happens. Because of this axial tilt, we are getting this angular rays, or this angle of incidence is changing throughout a year. Angle of incidence of sun rays are changing throughout a year because of Earth's axial tilt. Because of Earth's axial tilt. Okay. So this axial tilt with revolution, this makes the seasonality possible. This makes the seasonality came into picture. Okay, without axial tilt or without revolution, without any of this, we cannot see seasonality. In another factor I have told, spherical or spheroidal shape of the earth. If imagine earth is vertical, imagine earth is a flat surface like this, imagine earth is a flat surface like this, so every time it will get same radiation, every time it will get same radiation, wherever it will be, it will get the all surfaces like equator to pole all will get same radiation, because sun is larger in size than earth, right? Sun is larger in size than earth. So if earth is a flat surface, earth is a flat surface, every latitude will get same amount of radiation, same amount of radiation. If this is a flat surface, every part will get same amount of radiation, same amount. Okay, I'm not talking about angularity, but same amount. Like now we are getting equatorial region, they are getting highest. Okay, suppose talking about this position, suppose talking about this position, equatorial region is getting the highest, then it is decreasing to the north and south. In the polar region it is minimum. So if earth is not spherical, if it is a flat surface, then every region would have experienced same solar incidence, same solar radiation. Okay, so these three factors are important for earth seasonality. One is spheroidal shape of earth, tilt of axis and revolution. Okay, so now let's talk about this four position. I have already told some things like where the direct rays of sun at two position we have seen. One is here at this position we have talked that the direct rays are in the southern tropics, here the direct rays are on the northern tropics. Okay, this is one illustration which is elaborating that thing. You can see when earth is here at this position, the direct rays are falling on the southern tropics, so it is southern summer, southern summer. Okay, and here it is northern summer. Okay, and here northern winter, here it is southern winter. Okay, so as we have studied, at this position we will get 8% more solar insolation, and here as compared to this position, as compared to this position, here we will get 8% more, as compared to this position we will get 8% less solar insolation here. That means what we can say, in northern summer, in case of northern summer, we are receiving 8% less radiation than southern summer. We can say this, in northern summer, in the position where we are facing summer season in northern hemisphere, we are actually facing 8% less radiation than the southern summer. That means the northern summer is less intense. The northern summer is less intense in as compared to the southern summer, right? The northern summer is less intense as compared to the southern summer, because when it is summer season in southern hemisphere, when it is summer season in southern hemisphere, the earth is nearest to sun, the earth is nearest to sun. This is the shape and this is our earth. Its axial tilt is like this, sun is here and here it is our earth, it is our axial tilt. So here it is northern summer, here it is southern summer. So in southern summer we are getting 8% more radiation, okay, and here 8% less radiation. Okay, so the southern summer, during the southern summer, as Earth is nearest to Sun, we can say the southern summer is more intense, or 8% more intense, or in southern summer we are receiving 8% more radiation than northern summer. Okay, similarly, if we are talking about southern winter, here it is southern winter, here it is northern winter. So during winter in northern hemisphere, Earth is nearest to Sun, whereas during winter in southern hemisphere, Earth is farthest from Sun. That means southern winter is also more intense as compared to northern winter, right? As during the winter season of southern hemisphere, Earth is further distance or farthest distance from Sun. That means already it is having winter season and radiation is low there. So southern winter is highly intense. That means it is more cold. It is more cold there in southern hemisphere during the winter as compared to northern hemisphere. As compared to northern hemisphere, because during northern winter we are nearest to Sun. Okay, so this thing they can ask in different way to confuse you, so don't get confused. That's why I have told everything both for both case, for both northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Okay, then let's go to the terminologies. I have explained everything, but there are some terminologies for these positions. Okay, so these two positions are called solstice. These two positions are called solstice, whereas these two positions are called equinox. Okay, so during December we are nearest, as I have told, this time is December. It is called December solstice. It is called December solstice. Now this is the position during June, so it is called June solstice. It is called June solstice. Okay, that means during December solstice, the direct rays of sun are on the southern tropics or on the Tropic of Capricorn. During June solstice, the direct rays of sun is at the northern tropics or the Tropic of Cancer. So when the direct rays of sun is perpendicular to the tropics, or the direct rays of sun are falling on the tropics, this is called solstice. This position is called solstice. So when it is nearer to sun, when earth is nearer to sun, that is during December month, so it is called December solstice. And at that December solstice, the direct rays are falling on the Tropic of Capricorn or southern tropics. Whereas when earth is at farthest distance during June, the direct rays are falling on the northern tropics. This is called June solstice. During June solstice, the direct rays are falling on Tropic of Cancer. Okay, this thing you make note, because they will definitely ask you this question and you will get confused. Okay, now it is easy to understand because I am saying, but after some days you will forget everything, so then you will get confused. So make note of that. Okay, and definitely they will ask question, so please try to remember all these things, whatever I am saying. Then the next factor is, what is the date? The date is around December 22, 24. That is, as I have told, it is not constant always. It is not 22 to 24, sorry, 21st to 22nd. The the December solstice is 21st to 22nd of December. 21st to 22nd of December. Whereas the June solstice, that is 22 21st, then 22 21st, 22 to 21st of June. These dates, they are the solstice. The December solstice is on December 21st or December 22nd. Similarly, the June solstice will be on June 20 or June 21st. Okay. So during December, we are having winter. In the northern hemisphere, we are having winter. So the December solstice is also called winter solstice in northern hemisphere. Here it is written winter solstice, right? Don't get confused. Winter solstice with respect to northern hemisphere. This can be called summer solstice for southern hemisphere, because in southern hemisphere there is summer, in northern hemisphere there is winter. So better to remember it as December solstice, which is winter for northern hemisphere but summer for southern hemisphere. Similarly, the June solstice, here it is written summer solstice, right? It is summer with respect to northern hemisphere. June solstice is summer with respect to northern hemisphere, and in the southern hemisphere it is winter. During June it is winter in southern hemisphere. So winter solstice for southern hemisphere. Okay, don't get confused. I am saying again, December solstice and June solstice. December is winter in northern hemisphere, summer in southern hemisphere. June is summer in northern hemisphere, winter in southern hemisphere. Okay, and this solstice marks the position when the sun's direct rays are falling on the tropics. When we are talking about equinox, that is these two positions, here the direct rays of sun are falling on the equator. Direct rays of sun are falling on the equator. So when they are falling on the equator, that means it is having equal radiation. Like in northern tropics, suppose let's say this is Earth, and Earth's direct rays are falling on equator 0°. So it is having equal angle to northern tropics and southern tropics 23 and 23, equal angle to polar region and northern polar region and southern polar region. That means every latitude on northern hemisphere with its correspondence in southern hemisphere, suppose 30° north and 30° south, they will have equal angle of incidence, because equator is at perpendicular. You can see equator is getting perpendicular radiation. So here that much incidence angle will be same in southern, like 30° north and 30° south will have or will get same amount of or same angle of incidence, So during this equinox, why it is called equinox? This is called center of illumination also. This direct rays, what I am telling direct rays, that in other term we also can say the center of illumination. Center of illumination means this is the illumination, and this is the center. Right? Let me erase everything. This is sun, and the illumination is, this is the illumination plane. This is our Earth. This is the illumination plane, and this is the center of illumination. The center of illumination is this sun. This illumination is coming like this. So this center of illumination passes through the equator. During the equinox, the center of illumination passes through the equator, whereas during solstice, Earth is tilted like this and the illumination passes through southern tropics here. Like this is the illumination plane, center is equator, center is your southern tropics, here northern tropics, right? Center of illumination means the illumination is coming like in a cone shape, right? So here this is the illumination, these are the rays, and this is the center part, or we also can say the direct rays of sun are coming in that region, right? They will hit the surface perpendicularly, they will hit the surface perpendicularly. Okay, so during equinox the center of illumination is at the equator, so all like 30-degree latitude, 30-degree north and 30-degree south, all will, these two will have equal angle of incidence. Okay, so during this time, during this equinox time, what happens, as the center of illumination passes through both the poles equally, or the illumination is, or both the poles are equally illuminated, or both the hemisphere are equally illuminated. So what happens here, the daytime is equal to the night time. In this case, the daytime is equal to the night time. The daytime is equal to the night time during what, during this equinox. During this equinox, daytime is equal to night time, both here, both this and this position. In both the equinox position, the daytime is equal to night time, that is equal to nearly 12 hour, 12 hour, right? 24 hour is the daytime, so 12 and 12, daytime is 12 hour, night time is 12 hour, right? This is the uh, position called equinox. And what is the date? This is March 22, 23rd. Here it is written March 21. Its range is 22, 23rd, right? March 22, 23rd. In between that 22 to 23rd March, that day will come when we'll get 12-hour day and 12-hour night. During autumn, this is called vernal equinox, and this is called autumnal equinox. This is during September, okay, while we are having autumn season. So during that autumn season, during September month, the dates are 22 to 23, 22 and 23. So sometimes it falls in 22nd September, or sometimes it will fall in 23rd September. So that is called autumnal equinox, when we are getting 12-hour day and 12-hour night. Here also we are getting 12-hour day and 12-hour night. Okay, this is called equinox, equal day and night, right? And the center of illumination is at equator. So from December, from this March to June, from March to June, if you will see, here the center of illumination or the direct rays are on the equator. Direct rays are on the equator. Now it is going to the northern tropics. Then from northern tropics to equator, equator to southern tropics, equator to southern tropics. Then from southern tropics to equator, southern tropics to equator, right? This is called, this is some local term, in our local terminology we used to call Uttarayan, right? Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, these are the two terms. I don't know whether it is also same for in Hindi also. I hope same in Hindi also. These are the two terms of like movement of sun. We are telling Uttarayan of sun and Dakshinayan of sun. So what is that? What is the meaning of that? So Uttarayan means from, this is as I have told, December 22 and 23rd, or December 21st to 22nd. This is December 21st to 22nd. So after that, here it is your March, not June 22, 21st. It is June 22, 21st. Here it is March 22, 23rd. Okay, and here it is September 22nd, 23, 22nd and 23rd. So here if you'll see, the earth is the sun's direct rays, they are moving towards northern hemisphere, they are moving towards north. The sun's direct rays, they are moving from southern tropics to northern tropics, that means it is moving towards north. It is called Uttarayan. And when it is going towards south, from here is going to equator, then equator to south, so it is called Dakshinayan. That means it is going towards south, right? The direct rays of sun, it is going towards south. So in local terminology we use this. Uttarayan means sun is going towards north, and Dakshinayan means sun is going towards south. Okay, then if we have noticed this December 25 in Odisha, I belongs to Odisha, so that's why I am using the local terminologies. In December 25 we used to call it as Bada Din. Is also called Bada Din, that means large day. That is the meaning of the English meaning of this term is larger day, larger day, right? So what happens, why it is called Bada Din or larger day, why it is called? Because from this December 21st, 22nd onwards, the duration of the daytime is going to increase. From December 1st onwards, from this position onwards, the daytime is going to increase. Suppose during winter day is shorter, right? During winter day is shorter. Suppose let's take an example. This is not exactly, but I am telling for example. Suppose day is here it is having 10 hour and night is having 14 hour. Night is your 14 hour. Night is having a duration of 14 hour. During December, day is uh, sorry for the disturbance. Okay, so I was telling about yeah. So daytime, I was telling about the daytime is 10 hour here during, let's say it's one example, right? It's not that I am telling the perfect 10 hour and to 14 hour. Just for example, let's say. So here in December it's 10 hour and 14 hour. Then from this position, from this December solstice or whatever December 21st and 22nd, during that period or after that day, what will happen? It will start to increase. The daytime will start to increase. Here it will become day 12 hour and night 12 hour. During March, this is equinox, so both will be same. So it is 12 hour and 12 hour. Then again it is again increasing. The daytime is increasing till here, till June. Remember, June is your June is summer month for our. June is summer month for us, so the day is larger. June is summer means the day is larger, day is longer, not larger, longer. So the day is, let's say here, day becomes 14 hour and night becomes 10 hour. 10 hour, right? Suppose, right? This is example I have told you, right? Just for example. Then from June, what happens? Then the day starts decreasing. The day starts decreasing from June to December. So during this September month, again day is 12, night is 12. Then again here if you will see, your day is 10 and night is 14. So from June to December, day time is decreasing. From December to June, day time is increasing. So in between there are two positions, here and here. These are equinox, when day and night both are 12 hour. Both are 12 hour. Okay. So these are the terminologies and what are the phenomenon I have explained. Then let's talk about the polar region. What about the polar region? So if you will see during the during December solstice at this position, the sun's direct illumination is at southern tropics and there is almost zero solar incidence in the northern hemisphere, in the northern pole, in the northern polar region, in the northern polar region, that is above 66.5 degree latitude. This is 66.5, this is 90 degree. Okay, so if we will see the northern hemisphere, it is completely dark during December. That means it's night time and the night is around 3 months. Night is around 3 months there, right? As we all of us know that it is like 6 month day and 6 month night in polar region, right? So what happens actually is your half of it is half of the night. When we are talking about day and night means the morning and the evening, that means dawn and dusk, that is also coming into picture, right? Dawn and dusk is also coming into picture. So here it is completely night. Here this during this part of the cycle or this part of the revolution, it is completely night for northern hemisphere. Then for this part it is completely day for northern hemisphere. Okay, whereas here the sun is about to, you know, sunrise. This is the sunrise, whereas or the dawn, here it is dawn for northern hemisphere, whereas this part it is the dusk or it is the evening, or the sunset, or you can say the sunset in the southern hemisphere, sunset in the northern hemisphere. Everything I have told with respect to northern hemisphere, right? Everything I have told for northern hemisphere, right? So let me erase everything and tell once again for polar region. So here it is completely dark as the center of illumination is in the tropics, southern tropics. Here it is completely night. Then here as the center of illumination lies in the uh, equatorial region, this part will be night, then this part will be your morning or sunrise, then this part is the day for northern polar. I am talking about northern polar region. Then here this part is dusk. After this dusk or what is that, evening or sunset, this is the sunset. Okay, so four parts you can if you are like symmetrically dividing, it's like 3 months for each, right? So together it is called 6 day, 6 month day and 6 month night in the polar region. And if we are talking about the southern hemisphere, if we are talking about southern hemisphere, this is for northern hemisphere or northern pole I have told. Then this is northern pole night, northern pole sunrise, northern pole day and northern pole sunset. If we are talking about southern pole, southern polar region, here the southern pole is away from the sun, so southern pole night, it is the southern pole night. Here the southern pole is having getting solar insolation, so it is southern pole day, right? So here from day to night means it's southern pole sunset, it is southern pole sunrise, right? So these are the changes in the polar region. So you have to remember all these things, whatever I have told. Then let's talk about the distribution of solar radiation, the distribution of solar radiation, distribution of solar energy, right? So as I have told, Earth is spherical, it's not flat surface. If it is a flat surface, then what would happen? Every part will get same insolation. Every part will get same insolation, right? But if not if, but Earth is spherical or spheroidal. So what happens here? In the equator, you are getting direct rays. In the equator, you are getting direct rays, and in the polar region, you are getting slant rays. You are getting slant rays. Okay, and if you will see there our Earth's atmosphere, if we are talking about Earth's atmosphere, Earth is surrounded by atmosphere. Atmosphere is, that means sun, atmosphere is the medium through which sun rays are passing, right? Sun rays has to enter the Earth's atmosphere, then it will reach the surface, so if we are talking about equatorial region, as the sun rays are going directly, so here they are passing through the atmosphere of this much thickness, whereas when we are talking about the polar region, it is moving from here to here. You can see the length of atmosphere or the thickness of atmosphere through which sun rays are penetrating or sun rays are passing is increasing. That means the thickness is not increasing, but the uh, as the direction is slant, it is not direction is slant, direction is at an angle, it is not perpendicular to the atmosphere. If it is, if the light rays are going like this, so it is perpendicular. Now there will be same as equator, but it is not the case. The sun rays are falling in falling at an angle to the polar region. So what is happening? They are passing through the atmosphere, they are passing through a thicker atmosphere, or you can say the thickness of atmosphere passed by the sun rays are more as compared to the equatorial region. In the polar region or in the higher latitude, it is low latitude and the high latitude. So in the high latitude, what will happen? The thickness of atmosphere through which atmosphere is passing, it is more, because it is falling in a angle, whereas in equatorial region it is perpendicular to the surface, so it will cover lesser distance. So our atmosphere is having the capacity to absorb, the radiation. It is having that tendency to absorb the radiation. So atmosphere will absorb and reflect. There are two things, one is absorption, one is reflection. Okay, so depending upon at what angle it is the sun rays are falling on the surface or they are entering the atmosphere, the reflection amount and the absorption amount, that depends, that fluctuates. Okay, if you see this diagram here, see this table, if the angle of incidence or if the sun is above horizon, means when it is 90 degree, means sun is above our head. Suppose we are talking about one latitude, suppose I am talking about the daytime, whole daytime. If I am talking about, that means in the daytime, the midday, that is at 12 p.m. Yes, 12 p.m. in the daytime, in the noon, the sun is over our head, directly over our head. That is, the elevation of sun above horizon is 90 degree above horizon. That means if I am standing like this, okay, so this is my horizon, so sun is going like this above our head and then coming like this. So when sun is at 90 degree, you can say this way, or you can talk about our earth also, this is 90 degree, then it is going on decreasing the angle, right? It is 90, then 60, then 30, like that. Okay, So when the sun is, or the incidence angle is at 90 degree, if you see the reflected radiation is minimum, that is around 2%, whereas the absorbed radiation is around 98%. When the when the incidence angle or angle of the sun above horizon is 60 degree, that means somewhere here, so here the reflected radiation is around 3%, whereas absorbed radiation is 97%. When it is 30 degree, here the reflected radiation is around 6% and the absorbed radiation is 94%. Whenever the radiation is 15 degree falling at an angle of 15 degree, this 20% is reflected and 80% is absorbed. At 5 degree, when angle of incidence is at 5 degree, or horizon, the sun above horizon is at 5 degree, that means here, nearly here, at this position, this is 5 degree, right? Or we are talking about the polar region, angle of incidence in the polar region, the reflected radiation is 40% and absorbed radiation is 60%. That means with decreasing incidence angle, or with decreasing the angle of the sun above horizon, the reflected radiation is increasing and the absorbed radiation is decreasing. Okay, this is one factor. Okay, so I am talking about different factors, right? First thing I have told, the atmospheric thickness. Through which solar energies, solar light rays are moving. So talking about the lower latitude, it is direct, so it is covering lesser distance, whereas here it is higher distance. One thing. Second thing is reflection and absorption. When it is falling at lower angle, that means higher latitude in the polar region, the reflection is more, where the absorption is less in case of polar region when the angle of incidence is low. Okay, then if we are talking about one more thing is albedo. Effect. Most of us have heard this term, albedo effect. So what is albedo effect? Every material is having that tendency to reflect the light, right? Every material is having the tendency to reflect the light which is incident upon it, right? The light which is incident upon one material, the material is having a tendency to reflect something, to reflect some radiation. That is called albedo. So the polar regions are covered with ice. Polar regions are covered with ice. So this ice is having highest albedo. It is having higher albedo. So because of higher albedo, the reflectance is more in the polar region. As it is covering ice caps. Okay, as the land surface are covered with ice, so the regions are having highest albedo. That means the sun rays are reflected back more. That means we have considered 3 points. One is falling of sun rays, whether it is falling perpendicularly or it is falling in the falling at a slant angle, at some incidence angle. So when angle will be more, it will be covering more atmosphere, or it will be covering more area. If you will see, here it is covering this much area and here it is covering this much area. So the area is bigger and the thickness of atmosphere through which light is passing, or incidence solar rays are passing, that is more. So absorption by the atmosphere is more. So less rays or less radiation will fall on the surface. Again, we have talked about reflection and absorption of solar energy relative to the angle of incidence. So when the angle of incidence is 90 degree, okay, the reflected radiation is lower. So when the angle of incidence is lower, the reflected radiation is more. Reflectivity is increasing with decreasing angle of incidence. Reflectivity is increasing with decreasing angle of incidence. Okay. Then the third point we have discussed about albedo. So because of albedo, because of ice is having highest albedo as compared to the land surface. Land surface are having least albedo, they will absorb, but ice, they are having highest albedo, so they will reflect. Okay. So these are the three factors which is saying why, which is explaining why the polar region are having lesser radiation, why the polar region are cold, why they are getting lesser solar energies, why they are receiving lesser solar energies. Okay. So these are the factors that determine the distribution of solar energy in our earth. Okay. So main factor is sphericity. Because of sphericity only this is happening. Because of sphericity the angle is increasing for the solar rays. Because of sphericity the light rays are penetrating through the atmosphere, and the thickness of atmosphere through which the light rays are passing, that increases towards polar region, whereas it is low at equatorial region. The area on which light rays are falling is low at equatorial region, whereas it is higher in the polar region. Okay. Then these are the factors because of which the solar energy is minimum received in the polar region, whereas it is highest in the equatorial region. Okay. These are the factors I have already told. First thing is sunlight strikes at low latitude at high angle. I have already explained in the previous slide. These are the right of low latitudes at high angle. So the radiation is concentrated in a relatively small area as we have seen, and sunlight in the high latitudes, that is in the polar region, they will strike at low angle. So the same amount of radiation is spread over larger area. Same amount of radiation is spread over larger area. Here if comparing between A and B, A is, that is, if the radiation is constant, if we are considering the energy as constant, it is distributed in lesser surface area, whereas it is distributed in larger surface area in the polar region. Okay. Then the second, atmosphere absorbs some radiation. Okay, so atmosphere is also absorbing some of the radiation. So less radiation strikes earth at high latitude than at low latitude, because sunlight passes through more of the atmosphere at high latitude. This also I have explained, because of more distance of travel through the atmosphere during the at the polar region, it will absorb more, the atmosphere will absorb more, so less radiation will fall on the surface. The third thing is albedo. As I have told, the third thing is albedo. Albedo is your reflection, the tendency of reflection. So talking about rocks, they are having, talking about land surface, they are having least albedo, but whereas ice is having more albedo. So if you see, the average albedo of Earth's surface is about 30%. More radiation is reflected back to space. More radiation is reflected back to space at high latitude. Because of ice has much higher albedo than soil or vegetation. Okay, because they are covered with ice, they will reflect more because of highest albedo. Okay. And then the angle at which sunlight strikes the earth's surface, the ocean surface, right? The ocean surface determines how much is observed and how much is reflected. The sun shines down a smooth sea from directly overhead only 2%. When the angle of incidence is 90 degree, the reflected radiation is 2%. When the angle is 90 degree, whatever we have discussed in the previous table, the when the angle of incidence is 90 degree, when sun is directly overhead over the sun, Okay, when sun is directly over the sun, it will reflect only 2%. Whereas when it is 5 degree, that means when the angle of horizon decreases or the angle of incidence is decreasing there, when it will what will happen, the 40% of the rays will be reflected back to the atmosphere. 40% will be reflected. So the ocean reflects more radiation at high latitude as compared to the low latitude. The high latitude reflectance will be more, whereas low latitude reflectance will be less. Okay, so these are the factors which affect the distribution of solar energy. Okay, so this is all about our season and distribution of solar energy. In the next part, we will study about Coriolis effect and wind belts. Okay, thank you.